Today we explore the third of four questions we are addressing in the sermon series. We've looked at who am I and what do I love. Now we come to a more challenging question. How shall I live knowing I will die? It seems strange to be considering death on such a beautiful spring morning when the earth is awakening to the fullness of. Yet this question engages us in a profound awareness of the fragility of that which we love most and our choice to live with gratitude. Ours is a culture that is often so youth-oriented that we tend to sterilize death and are often shocked when we suddenly wake up and years or even decades have passed and we're aging and we can't remember where the time went. We're surrounded with input telling us that success in life means accumulating possessions, wealth, and power. Our outward focus on accomplishments often keeps us so busy that we don't have time to look at the reality that this might be our last day. And we think perhaps, how could the world keep functioning if I'm not here? This is not an easy topic for contemplation. It's often frightening when we look at and face our own impending death. We fear the unknown. We fear losing all that we've worked to accomplish and that we might lose those we love. But life is uncertain and change inevitable. In the book, How Then Shall We Live, Wayne Muller includes this quote. One day, as Ajahn Chah, a Buddhist teacher from the forest monasteries of Thailand, and some of those monks will be visiting us this June, he was teaching, and one of his students asked him, how can you be happy in a world of such impermanence, where you cannot protect your loved ones from harm, illness, and death? He held up a glass and said, someone gave me this glass. I really like this glass. It holds my water admirably, and it glistens in the sunlight. I touch it, and it rings. One day, the wind might blow it off my shelf, or my elbow might knock it from the table. The glass is already broken. Even as I hold it in my hand, I know it is already on the floor in pieces, so I enjoy it incredibly. The glass is already broken. We are already dead. So certain is our physical demise. Seen through this lens, what is the hurry? What's the rush? Where's the fire? The fire has already come and everything has already been burned to the ground. We are getting closer to death with every breath, and no strategy will exempt us from a sure and certain end to our life as we know it. Does this make us depressed? On the contrary, it can set us free. Free from the illusion that one more phone call, one more meeting, another $100 will buy us safety, happiness, immortality. It is all chasing after the wind. When we stop chasing the wind, we can begin to live in peace. When we stop chasing the wind, we can begin to live in peace. We know that we will die, and all the stuff of this life money, power, and possessions can. Often these life-changing events help us to make peace with the inevitability of death. In many of these cases, people find a deeper love for the life they've been given. Each day is then recognized as a gift. I think I've mentioned my friend Jill from Virginia, who really would have liked to have helped me lead a service on this topic. Jill is my friend with pancreatic cancer, one of the most aggressive kinds. Johns Hopkins doesn't know what to do with her because she keeps living. 5.5 years after her diagnosis, she's just been accepted as a participant in a new clinical trial. When you talk to Jill, as I did this past week, she says, "I'm happy to be able to live so that I have more time with my family. And I'm also at peace with the reality that today may be the day that I die." Jill is an amazing mentor for living fully, and she often shares her gratitude for the cancer that has enlightened her to the impermanence of her life. Every moment, every cup of tea shared with friends and family, every spring day is now an exquisite gift. She lives with deep gratitude and hope. Jill, like so many people who live with cancer, is a role model for living fully. But the keen appreciation she has for the gift of life is available to each one of us without having to experience a crisis or illness. We simply have to choose to stay awake and to see the exquisite beauty all around us. When I was in high school, after I coped with my fear of speaking in public, I participated in dramatic reading competitions. One of the plays I read was Thornton Wilder's Our Town. Many of you may know that play. In one scene of the play profoundly affected my view of life and has stayed with me all these years later. Absorbing the meaning of that play was the first time I really grasped that we need to not just live our lives, but truly to be awake while we live. The play is about life in a small town whose main character, Emily, grows up, falls in love with the boy next door, and as a young mother dies in childbirth. In the last scene, she's in the town graveyard, newly arrived in death and struggling to release the life she loved. She asks to go back to an ordinary day in her life, to see the world one more time. And it is in that visit that she finally, from the other side of death, realizes how we fail to appreciate the lives we've been given. She watches herself spend a day, a birthday, surrounded by friends, family, gifts, and unconditional love. And she says, "It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another." I didn't realize. So all that was going on, and we never noticed. Then she cries, "Take me back up the hill to my grave." But wait, first, one more look. Goodbye, goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food and coffee and new iron dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Then she turns to the stage manager and asks, "Do human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?" He responds, "No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do some." We are called to answer that question for ourselves. Do we ever realize life while we live it? Every minute. If we choose to live with mindfulness and intention, perhaps it is possible to realize life every minute. The reality is that we need not be in the presence of death to live fully. We don't have to wait until we're sick or survive a car wreck or illness or crisis. We need only to have in our awareness that the gift of life is to be lived in this moment. Every moment is a gift. As I wrote that sentence, I was sitting on my couch typing away and happened to look out my window, and I noticed the beginning of leaves on the tree branches that 2 days ago were bare. How could I not stop, put down the task at hand, to look with awe for just a moment at the wonder of nature right before my eyes? And if I had not been avoiding writing, I might not have noticed. I would not have been present to bear witness to the renewal of spring right outside my window. Emerson speaks of being present in our awareness with these words: "These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with God today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full-blown flower, there is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye, lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we live with nature in the present above time." So I invite us in this present moment, as we move into a time of meditation, to be here now. I invite us, if we want to close our eyes, get comfortable, take a deep, slow breath and mentally and emotionally step out of time so that we can release what is past and release our yearning to look into and prepare for the future, and to just breathe with this moment. I invite us to share together responsive reading number 660. We've talked a little bit about impermanence and death, but the reason we're talking about it is because we need it to help shape the abundance of our living. Thoreau talked about living deliberately, and so let us share in this responsive reading. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life.
I wish to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover that I have not lived.
I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear.
Nor do I wish to practice resignation, unless it is quite necessary.
I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life.
I want to cut across a swath, to drive life into a corner, and reduce it to its lowest terms.
If it proves to be mean, then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world.
Or if it is sublime, to know by experience, and to be able to give a true account of it.
To live deliberately, to suck the marrow out of life. That's a phrase that is not familiar to younger generations. Maybe those of us who grew up in the country and lived a little differently a generation or two ago may understand that phrase more. But Thoreau is really talking about how we need to be able to give a true account of our life. To say, this is how we wish to live. Thoreau claimed the quality of how he lived his life. We might say today, well, that was easy for him. He didn't live in the kind of world that we occupy. And our world is much more complex. But like Thoreau, we want to be fully present as we live in our world. How do we want to live knowing that we will die? Accepting that impermanence is part of our lives and learning to rejoice in this moment. One of my favorite Buddhist parables is this, and I'm sure some of you have heard it. A man was traveling across a field and encountered a tiger. He fled, the tiger after him. Coming to a precipice, he caught hold of a root of a wild vine and swung himself down over the edge. The tiger sniffed at him from above. Trembling, the man looked down to where far below another tiger was waiting to eat him. Only the vine sustained him. Two mice, one black and one white, little by little started to gnaw away at the vine. The man saw a luscious strawberry near him. Grasping the vine with one hand, he plucked the strawberry with the other. How sweet it tasted. Awareness of our impermanence offers us gratitude for every moment, for every experience. Do we have the courage to embrace our impermanence so that we can live with abundant gratitude every day of our lives? Perhaps claiming that awareness could begin with something as simple as a one breath meditation. With just one breath, we can begin to focus our attention on our lives. Take a breath. When we pay attention to that breath, not when we have allergies, but, when we're breathing well, just a simple breath, when we focus on the present and anticipate the blessing of the next breath, we can live with freedom for the gift of the next moment and know that the world is open to us, that life awaits us. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds people that we are to seek life not in some other realm. He says there are some people who believe that they will enter the kingdom of God or the Pure Land after they die. I don't agree with them. I know that you don't have to die in order to get into the kingdom of God. In fact, you have to be alive to do so. If we are fully alive, then what do we plan to do with this one wild and precious life of ours? I invite us to rise in body or spirit to share our closing hymn number